Good morning, dear students. I, Vidyasagar, your SS teacher, welcome you all in the e-learning class of Modern International Suhiswa. I am going to start subject history of Standard 6, and this is my first video lecture on chapter 2, from gathering to growing food. Dear student, this story starts with Tusar. Tusar, who is going to Chennai from Delhi to his cousin's wedding, and there he was traveling by train, and he managed to settle down in the window seat, and thus then uncle asked to him that, do you know that the train, it has been started during 150 years ago? Yes, dear friend, the first train, it was started in India, was 1853 from Mumbai to Thane in Maharashtra. It was around 35 kilometers, and it was credited to Lord Dalhousie. So the train started, and later the wheel was invented. Then further the bus was also started. But here the story that has been started, it tells us that how the earlier people, they used to survive themselves, and what were the different methods by which they could survive themselves. Like, the next topic is the earliest peoples, why they were on the move. It means what were the basic things that they have to be moved. It means Tushar was thinking that the earliest peoples, nowadays we having the transportation, then it is possible that we are moving. Then at the earlier time, when the peoples, they don't have the vehicles, how they were moving, and if they are not moving, then the entire life where they have born, there must be died at the same place. But as we know that these the peoples, they have grown about 202 millions years ago. It means 1 millions is equal to 10 lakh, 2 million 20 lakhs years ago, and which we told a hunter gatherers. It means they used to hunt and gather. They hunt along with the wild animals, and they gathers the fruit which were available in the forest, and that's why they were known as the hunter and gatherers. Further, they used to count the wild animals, and fish, birds, gather the roots, nuts, seeds, and etc., which were easily available in the forest, in the wild areas, which were belonging to those peoples. Now, these things were not easy, but there were the animals who used to run faster than them, and that's why they have to be more alert, and that's why they were thinking that we need such a tools through which we can get these animals very fastly. It means they collect the plant to produce, and to which parts plants are edible, and they also used to have to find that which fruit is ripened and which is raw. It means it was difficult. Nowadays we can see that it is easier because we are practicing it, but it was the first time, and those people, they were practicing it, so it was difficult to them identify between these things. The question arises that why the hunters, they were moving from one place to another place. The first reason was, at the place where they was residing for a long time, they could use to finish all the available products at that area. It means they have finished all the things which was available to, easily available to them. Second thing was, they were moving one place to another place for the search of the animals. It means they were catching the small prey, and the deer and the wild cattle, which used to be moving one place to their place, so catch them, they usually used to move. Third is to get the different fruits which can be not found at a particular place. They usually used to move from one place to another place. Fourth is, they ever used to need of water for the survivors, and they ever move toward the perennial rivers. It means those rivers which flow throughout the year. It means these are the perennial rivers, so they used to move toward there. And the dry season, they used to find out that where they could find out the water, and this search ever create a situation that they used to move from one place to another place. Now, how do we know about these peoples? It means what were the sources? As in the previous chapter we have already discussed that the historian sources that tells us about their fooding habits, their living standard, and the how they used to survive themselves. Then archaeologists, as we have already discussed about the archaeologists, those peoples who used to find out the remain things. It means their work is to find out the remaining things which are remain in or either buried under the ground or the earth. So they were usually, it means it was find it out that they were usually made the tools which were made up of stones, which were made up of woods, or either it was also made up of bones, because these were the only things which was available to them. As some of the tools, it was also made up from the wood to cut out the meat and chop them into the smaller pieces. It means they were also know that the big part they can't eat easily, so they used to chop it, and this was easily for them. It means see how they have converted themselves, because they didn't know anything, but they were trying to do something new, and that's why they have find out the tools and other things which lead to a great change in the future. Now, to they also makes out the arrows for huntings. As nowadays if you will see the tribal lives, they usually use the bow and arrow for the hunting, and the fire wood which was also used to make hut and tools. It means the different tools like the wood, stones, and the these all things which were used to making of the, and these were the uh, discussion about their fooding habits. Now we are thinking that where they used to reside themselves. Yes, if it was the dry season, they ever used to reside near the bank of the rivers or the forest areas. But whenever it was the rainy season, whenever it was the extreme heat or winter, where they used to reside. Some of the archaeological sites which have been given here in the map, you will see that they ever used to find such places where the caves was available. As one of the best example of these caves was given about the Bhimbetka, which is in Madhya Pradesh. So these caves, this is the evidence that shows that the peoples, that the early peoples, they used to reside here, and they used to protect themselves from the extreme heat and cold. That's why the many, and they were also in groups, so many of them hunters gatherers, they used to live at different places. And as the stones were the important tools, so they ever used to try it out that how we could get the best quality stones, and it was found at the different places. So for this purpose they ever used to move from one place to another place, and wherever they could find out the best quality stone, they used to stay there and make out their tools, and further they used to move further. These sites were known as the factory sites. So they wherever they used were residing, they ever used to leave some of the cutting stones, cutting bones. So these were the things which were found by the archaeologist. And further it was mentioned that see how they were used to cut out the bones and they makes the different tools, and how they used to help these tools for surviving their lives, and they ever used to live there these places for a long time, because they have to make out the tools also, and they ever used to protect themselves. So this type of places was also known as habitation cum factory sites, as they used to reside these places, and the different tools which was made under this type of caves. Okay dear students, read the paragraph and keep watching. Thank you.